Income for your whole life. Tax-free income for your whole life. Don't you think that has a nice ring to it? Today, we're going to talk about income for your whole life. That's right, whole life income, building a system for control and guarantees. How many of you want more money? Pop an I in the chat, raise your hands. How many of you care more or agree that you care more about your money than other people do? If your hand's up, good. If you're driving, hope your hand's still on the wheel. You're in the right place. First off, let me welcome you, congratulate you for being here. Seriously, you could have been anywhere right now, and many people had the opportunity to be here, but they didn't choose to be. And that says something powerful about your commitment to yourself, your future, and your family. And we're going to dive in today that this isn't about selling life insurance. It's about showing you a system that the wealthy have been quietly using for generations now. You're going to learn why you were trained to chase cheap insurance and why the word insurance in general just makes your neck hairs stand up. And that mindset's what's keeping many people broke. You're going to discover how to reframe premiums as deposits, premium deposits in our world, into your own personal banking system. We're going to walk through guarantees inside a properly structured whole life policy, the growth, access, the protection, and the legacy. And you're going to leave with the clarity to stop renting someone else's bank and start building your own. When you start seeing the premiums as strategic deposits, not expenses, you begin to build something most people never have, which is financial control. There's no more waiting on the markets, no more hoping someone's going to do right by you, just guaranteed growth, access, and a system you own. Now, I want to share something personal. Is that okay with you guys? Just a few years ago, I felt a constant pressure around money. I was working hard, doing what I thought was right. And even though I was working more and I earned more, the more I made, the less I seemed to keep. It was so frustrating. I felt like I was failing in my role to provide, protect, and to lead my family forward. And then I found this because I asked a different question. It wasn't a process, or a product, it was a process. It was a way of thinking about money, and it's become a lifelong pursuit. And since then, my mission, as you guys know, has been to show up every day and spread the word of infinite banking, spread the word of taking back control and guarantees, because when we leaned into it as a family, it changed everything. So let's get into this. Let's flip the script on the premiums and start building your own financial system. So again, we've been programmed to think of insurance and life insurance as a cost. And I know because I've had this conversation with so many folks over the last several years. And I want you to just think or imagine to yourself, think back when you were little. Think back when you got money in a birthday card. Woo! How did that feel? Or you had money coming in during the holidays and you had your little piggy bank, or maybe you had some special bank that was maybe a turtle or something. And you took that money and you shoved it in there. And you'd shake it, put it up by your ears. You guys remember this? You put yourself there and you got excited. And eventually you asked, you started realizing, well, hey, it's not really doing much in my little piggy bank here. It's just going to fill up, and I'm learning how to save and how to pay myself first, how to love myself first, how to keep my money, and then now that I'm building my money, how do I keep it? How do I multiply it? And so then someone had you open a bank account. And I remember my first bank. I remember walking in, you drive through the woods and windy roads everywhere. And I get to Hope Bank and I look and I'm like, wow, this is nicer than any home I've ever seen. This is a beautiful stone-faced building in Hope, New Jersey. And I remember walking the First National Hope Bank of New Jersey and being very proud and like, here's my couple $100. I'd like to open a savings account, and opening that account. And then as I started having jobs as a teenager and I started getting paid and you start depositing your money and thing. Then eventually, well, this is before debit cards, but eventually you get a credit card. And now I start swiping. So it doesn't even feel real. How many of you can relate to that as how you started learning and utilizing money in your life? Because remember, money has to flow, it has to keep in motion. And no matter, even if you're doing what Daddy Dave tells you to do and taking your money and burying it in the yard or stuffing it under your mattress or whatever you might be doing, at the end of the day, your money, if it's not in motion, is not making money. And so playing that prevent defense or being reactive to what happens around us, because what's guaranteed? What is guaranteed? Change. That's what we talk about all the time. Change is guaranteed. So you could own your own system. You could stop storing money in their bank. And we've shown you time and time again how banks, every bank in our country, is making between 400 and 1300% annually. Write that down if you didn't know that. 400 to 1300% annually. You go to Bauer Financial and check that out. And maybe I'm crazy, but how many of you would be so excited and it would be life changing to start earning money on your money, even if it's money just sitting there at the very first level of banking, which is glorified savings. And then eventually, you know, I was taking you on my journey as when I started an account, when I started using credit cards. Eventually, I wanted to buy things and things I couldn't afford with a paycheck, things that I might have not saved for. I mean, I might have been, maybe some of you are like me and you hadn't save for the things, the big events, the first home or the first vehicle that wasn't a beater, that wasn't a jalopy. And then you do what? You go to the bank and you make a loan and you start taking out loans. And I'm talking about this because of the patterns that are created. Then you put insurance on the car. You start, get your position. You start, and we're going to go into this right now, but you start being taught that insurance, the goal is to have the smallest amount of premiums for your home insurance, for your medical insurance, for your auto insurance, for your life insurance, whatever it is, whatever you are protecting, we're taught to what? We're taught to get the smallest amount for the most coverage. And I always like to throw in with a reputable company, hopefully. You know, I used to make fun of the General, but I think the General is probably pretty decent because, Shaq uses it. So it must be pretty good. And so most Americans, or many of you, see insurance as a necessary expense. And it's something that you're hoping that you never have to use. It's a if when scenario. If someone crashes into my car, if you're like Patty and you're sitting there, you're minding your own business and it starts pouring rain coming down on the car, and you're sitting there looking left to make a right turn, and all of a sudden a teenager comes up and goes all up the side of her car. That's why you have auto insurance. And she's like, "Oh my God, I didn't even see you there." It's like, what do you mean you didn't see her there? She's parked at a stop sign to make a right turn, and somehow you managed to scrape the whole car. This is a while ago, but just sharing, that's when we need insurance. It's an if this happens, then I'm covered. If you get sick, well, I can go see a doctor, get a prescription, get a surgery. If someone wrecks your vehicle, now you can go get it fixed, and hopefully they do a good job. You pay your deductible, and you can have high deductibles, low deductibles, whatever it might be at your home. Maybe something happens to your home. I mean, the first insurance here in the States, I believe, was fire insurance. And so if something happens, if your home, God forbid, burns down, now it's covered. And then with life insurance, we've been taught, well, hey, just, get enough to cover your expenses in case something happens in these next years, these critical years. And that might be where we start with term insurance. I remember Patty had to take my arm and literally put it in an arm bar and wrench it up and say, "Jason, we're having another son. We need to have protection. You're out there racing and doing stupid stuff." This is not how she phrased it. This is my remembrance of it. I know she was way sweeter than this, but she was like, "Baby, I think we need this. It's to protect our family." And she was right. But I fought her tooth and nail, and I was looking at our premiums on our term insurance. It's less than $50 a month for a decent amount of coverage. And that's how we're taught. And I'm just sharing my story. How many of you can relate to this? At some point, this is how you believed it worked, or maybe you still do, and that's okay. That's okay. But we're looking at the programming. The programming's always the same. How much coverage can I have for the smallest amount if something happens? And this is prevent defense at its finest. I can see how you could say it's proactive. I thought about this when I was going to say this part. I could see how you would think that might be a little bit proactive. But the reality is you're not building up enough to really protect it, to really take control of it. You're just putting a little in and you're protected in case something bad happens. But you're not thinking about, okay, well, hey, this car at some point is going to get old, or hey, I'm going to get older and it's going to get more expensive to keep renewing my term. Or I hope I don't get sick because I don't even understand how the health system works anymore, because I can't even afford the medications or whatever it might be. So right here, this book, hold it up all the time. But this book, page 44, Becoming Your Own Banker. Don't be afraid to capitalize your system. The more capital you put in, the more you get back tax-free at passive income time. And so say that differently, maybe. Say, how many of you would like to know that every dollar you put into your system, you will get back tax-free later in life? And then some. And then some. So with this, I want you guys to pop it in the chat and maybe write this down and say it out loud, because this community, you guys, we are about action, right? We're all taking radical ownership, and then we're doing what? We're going to take action, because like Nike, we got to just do it. So write this down. Premiums are the premium deposits that help me control or take control for my life, not for them. Say it out loud. Premiums are now premium deposits that help me capitalize my system for my life, not theirs. And who's they? Well, they are the wealthy. They're the one that set these systems up, that have all of us going out there and working hard and coming back. And they're like, oh, good boy, good girl, go work harder, go work harder. And we keep doing that. And we keep doing the same thing because it's so easy and it's so simple to set it up month to month and set it, forget it, and don't do it. But all we're looking to do is interrupt that pattern and make a change. Flipping the script on the wealthy, on the ones that built the system that hold us enslaved. And what a thing to talk about today of all days. Let's break free. How many of you want to break free from that current system? If you haven't already, man, after hearing what's possible, I hope that this lights a little spark inside of you that it's possible for you. Say this: I'm a builder, a creator. Today is the day I break free from financial slavery. Smash that like button if you're new. Subscribe, help spread the good word about how people can have control and guarantees in their life, the protection we need, and ring the bell, because it might just turn orange. And that way you're alerted to all the new content. You can keep showing up for yourself, for those around you, and learning how you can apply this simple process. And let's look at why we use only whole life insurance from a mutually owned dividend paying company for our whole life income. I like the saying of that. We heard that when we were talking about annuities at one of our retreats. And we're just talking about how they help people with long-term care. And they talked about its income replacement. Well, whole life insurance is exactly that. It is whole life income for the event that something happens, but we're talking about the living benefits. So let's talk about why this vehicle is the optimal vehicle. If it was something else out there that was better, I would be teaching that. I would have a channel and be sharing and pouring into you that other thing that was better. But since this has been around longer than any of the systems that we know, any of the systems that we utilize, over 200 years. I just sat down and listened to a chief investment officer of one of the 100 plus billion-dollar companies that we partner with, one of the five, and heard him talk about how they think for themselves, how they have experts in every place that they're taking the money that we deposit, investing it so they can give us the guarantees I'm about to tell you. And they told us with absolute certainty, look, we're set up for success for the next 150 years. We're growing at a steady 7 to 8% a year. Not sexy, not big, just guaranteed, safe, steady growth to keep making sure that their commitment to all of us, right? Because we are the owners of their company. We are the most important in their company. So let's talk about some of the guarantees. How many of you like guarantees here? Anyone? Pop what you like having guarantees in life. Guaranteed extra serving of this. Guaranteed extra scoop of coffee ice cream. Whatever your guarantee is. But you're guaranteed growth. You have a contract that tells you this can never do worse than X. And depending on the company, that ranges from 2 to 3.75%. But it's guaranteed from the time you fund, make that premium deposit. And what's a premium deposit? It is a deposit into your system that you own and control. Now it's guaranteed to grow no matter what. And it grows annually. It actually grows daily. It actually gets bigger every day. There's never a day where your amount in your system isn't bigger than it was the day before. Think about that. There's never a day. It's not like you're looking at your bank account and you're like, oh man, what just came out? Why do I have less money today? No, it always is going up. Then you have the guaranteed legacy. This is usually the G2 I talk about, but you have a guaranteed tax-free estate. And eventually, you'll have that estate. You'll probably have my goal, and this is something I'll keep bringing to you guys, is to have that family constitution that says what has to happen next. And it's going to be one of the examples I use later, but you have the family constitution. Then you tie it to maybe an ILET or some sort of trust. Like ILET is just oh my gosh, I just forget, insurance trust. So it is a insurance trust that you have set up for where that goes. And then that's a guaranteed, right? The death benefit. Then you have guaranteed level premiums. That means that your premiums are never going up, whether you get sicker, older, or you couldn't even qualify for life insurance. And I've seen some of my peers go through this. There's several people on our team that can no longer at this time be approved. But did their premiums go up? Did the amount of their deposits go up? No, they're the same. And they actually have the manageable floor and the meaningful ceiling. And then you have your guaranteed access to your capital. As long as you have cash value, you can take a loan. They will never ask you why. Why are you taking that loan? I know, Sandra, I know you want to go to Vegas. I'm just using you because I looked over and saw your name. But you want to go to Vegas and you're going to go say, hey, I can take this money out. I'm going to put it all in red or all in black. I'm just going to let it ride on the roulette wheel. It's going to come around. And so that is something that is just powerful. Guaranteed growth, guaranteed legacy, guaranteed level premiums, guaranteed access to tax-free capital. There's no cost. These are the privileges of owning your own system. And emotionally, the flexibility, and it starts helping us really reframe ourselves or reframe how we're feeling about money. Like a lot of times, if you look at different polls, the number one feeling in a relationship or the number one problem in a household is money. And the feeling around money is fear. And so if you believe like I do, the wealthy have more choices. How many of you feel like that's a fair statement? I ask it almost every conversation, but I believe this is a system built by the wealthy for the wealthy. And if you choose to implement it, guess what's going to happen eventually? You're going to have more wealth than you would have had without it. And a lot of it's just because you've shifted your mindset and you started valuing yourself. So most people think control means power. We all know people have to control everything. Everything has to be perfect. Definitely, if you saw my little area, not me necessarily in this area. And so when you look, they think control is power, but in the financial life, it's really flexibility. And when I talk about flexibility, there's flexibility in all different parts. There's flexibilities on your MOTA payments, how you're paying your premium deposits. Are your premium deposits going to be monthly? Are they going to be quarterly? Are they going to be semi-annually, or are they going to be annually? And you could have multiple policies that are set up different depending on, maybe some are set up for when you get a certain bonus that you get almost every year, or maybe some are set up because hey, this is coming from the business, whatever it might be, but you can change that mode every year. You can, like I said earlier, with your guaranteed level premiums, you can reduce the premium all the way down to the base and just the little extra $10 to keep the paid up addition attached to it, which you always want that ability. Or you could go all the way up to the max, right? And you could go back and forth every year. Because again, what's guaranteed in life? Say it with me. It's change. Change is guaranteed. And then you have access to cash in days, not weeks, not months, not hoping while someone checks and has you send in records and tax returns and everything else. No, if you've built a system and you need a loan, that loan, if you have it ACH deposited, will be in your account in a couple of days. If you choose to get a snail mail, it might be a couple extra days. That's just the difference. And you have an opportunity, right? Flexibility. If you built a container and the container gets bigger and bigger and bigger every year, say you have a windfall, say you have an inheritance or something comes, you need somewhere to store the money. Well, this is the perfect place. If you have an outstanding loan, store the money, put the money back into your family banking system. And think about this compared to the other systems where many of us store our money. We put it in a 401k. We put it in a 403b. We put it in an IRA. We put it in an account, a 529, all that have individual stipulations. Now, they're powerful tools. They do build wealth tax-free, but the stipulations have to make you question, why can you not access the money without penalty until a certain age, to 59 and a half? Savvy? Does that make sense? Like, why are they having us pay our future self, is how I like to put it. We're paying our future self, and our current self is struggling. So when you decide that you are a builder, a creator, no longer a borrower, no longer a contributor to the wealthy system, this is where you have that control over things, which gives you that flexibility and also gives you a certainty, a feeling of ease. It's amazing. And then on page 48 in Becoming Your Own Banker, Nelson says that, and I taught this, I've showed this in our presentation, but 34.5 cents per dollar goes to interest. Remember, we finance everything. We either earn interest or we give up the interest to somebody else. We either earn it or we give it up to somebody else. There is no third option. So what are things going to look like if you start to become the one who is earning the interest like the banks are? Remember, they're making 400 to 1,300% on our money. So now you're borrowing against your system that you've capitalized with premium deposits over time. You build up your opportunity fund. You've kept it in motion by making the purchases and paying yourself back. You buy the first car, and now you have the majority of the money back with the first car. You have a policy that's always been gaining you a guaranteed growth rate, probably earning you dividends every year, and you're making a spread paying yourself back. And now, like earlier or this week, I'm helping someone who's already banking, and the grandfather wants to take policies out on the 3 little girls, and they're 2, 5, and 7. And they have adorable names. I won't share just because privacy, but just the cutest names. And they want to put like $200 to $225 a month in each of these little girls' policies. And their main goal is, I want them to have money when they're 16 to 20 years old for the things that they're going to want, whether it's a vehicle, whether it's a, schooling, whether it's a trip, they take off and do some kind of trip. And when I looked at it, it gave these little girls with just that little amount. Remember, 2, 5, and 7, $200 to $225 a month. The The oldest one had about $16,000 at 16, so 9 years from now. And the youngest, the 2-year-old, by 14 years later, had over $33,000. That is the power of that uninterrupted compounding that's guaranteed and of thinking long term. Now, many of you, I know, I heard it. I just heard it in the back of my mind. I got the connected to the source I just heard. But Jason, I'm not 2. I'm not 7 or 5. And $200 aren't going to give me that kind of return at my age. And I would say, yes, but starting paying yourself, building that system. Chris Nagel started with $240 a month. Now I saved for a while and started with a big number for myself at that time, about $3,000 a month or $36,000 annual, just sharing, because I had a goal and I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And that's where we're going to meet you. And so imagine those little girls are buying, they're each having a policy. They're buying the cars with their system. Now that family, every car they finance is through their system. And now they're going to expand the system further. They're going to start buying their houses through the system. Because when you're paying it back, the money does what? It just keeps growing and growing and growing. The opportunity fund for your family gets bigger and bigger. And then you can start multiplying it. Now you can start making investments, making a spread on your money. And you're ready for any of life's emergencies or opportunities, businesses. Maybe you're buying a business, real estate, family needs, hard money lending, whatever the bigger thing that you guys want. And you just got to want what you want, not what someone else wants. So stop renting a bank, build one. Think about it. Why are so many of us paying premiums to protect someone else's system when you could be building your own? You're already in banking, as we like to say in our podcast. You're already in banking. You're just not the bank yet. You've taught to think in terms that expensive equals bad, but now you know that the higher the premium deposit, the greater the ownership, the more flexibility, the more guarantees, the more growth that you have. And so what would it look like if you could deposit the money into your own system first? You know, what if I could never be fired from, denied by, or outlived by your system? That's powerful. That's certainty. That's control. Many people, most of us, myself, was trained to see insurance as protection for what if. But infinite banking isn't just protection, it's a system, a process, a warehouse for your wealth, a way for you to stay in control no matter what. Today, we've exposed the lie that they tell us. The lowest premium is the smartest choice. And we reframed it for the truth. The right kind of premium, the right premium deposit is a deposit into your own system. You understand now that premiums aren't costs, they're capital. They're proactive deposits into your system for your hopes, for your dreams, for where you ultimately are going, what God's intended for you to make impact. You have to have money and you have to have a system that you've created to control it. So whole life insurance isn't slow. It's steady, strategic, and there's the word again, guaranteed. And you've always had a system. It just wasn't yours. When you become the banker, you change your life. You gain access, flexibility, compounding growth, and a legacy you can't outlive. If you guys want to book a call with me, just scan that QR code, book a call. It'll take you to my calendar link. You don't have to. It's okay if you don't. Are you going to keep funding someone else's system or start building your own? The next time you hear the word premium, remember this: you're not paying a bill, you're making a deposit. So for your freedom, into your future, into your family's foundation, let's go build, let's go create. As always, thanks for your time and giving me your most valuable resource, your attention. Many of you could have been somewhere else, but chose not to be. You chose to be here. So celebrate yourself. Give yourself a high five. Unless you're driving, that's super dangerous. Keep your hands on the wheel. Smash the like button. Smash it. Subscribe. Share the message. Ring the bell to be alerted to new content. I'm grateful you are sharing this message and inviting people onto the big infinite banking bus. It's infinite. The goal is to reach over 10 million fathers and their families. Because we want to change the face of finances in the States forever. It's a big task, but together we can go further. So I'll see you in the next video. God bless. Can't wait. Next video, more lessons for you to take back control and build your system.